obviously very close to each other. And speaking of 2.0 and all the other new things that are about to come for Heroes of the Storm, it's a very exciting period of time to be alive, especially if you're a Heroes of the Storm fan, because not only are we going to get new heroes or a new hero very soon, a new map, a new progression system, new currency system, everything's going to be brand new and flashy, and I can wait to open my first loot boxes.
Have you ever wanted to be the amalgamation of Satan and a Xenomorph from Aliens? Because you can do that with Primeval Diablo skin.
Yes!
God damn, that thing's scary.
And you want to have that cockroach running or mounting animation as well. Oh, it's so creepy.
It's so creepy. I absolutely love it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the draft of game number 1. And it was a consideration by eStar of possibly banning out a Falstad, denying one of those globals. Instead, though, they put the priority on Zarya, trying to bait the opponents into banning a Tassadar, which is exactly what happens.
Exactly. We see a Malf prioritization here by eStar. On Sky Temple, I think that is a very smart thing to do. Not only is Malf one of the safest heroes to pick these days, but also the scouting drones are very useful when it comes to, you know, keeping guys in check or keeping enemies in check when they're hiding in the bushes near the temple areas, or just to make sure that you always know what's going on around the boss area. Those are probably the most crucial points of interest on Sky Temple.
So HotsLady, what we would usually see here is at least one of the globals, usually would end up being the hacker, and then follow that up with either a Falstad or another support, or in some or a support so that you don't get one banned out. In some cases, you would see pick up a Valor very quickly, or a Tychus, like we see there, just to make sure that you get one of the damage dealers away from your opponents.
Tychus over Vala is something we usually don't see. I mean, Tychus did receive a couple of buffs with the latest balance update. His minigun is now a little bit more powerful. So ever since this rework, basically, the Q is also a lot more powerful, and the bigger they are also received a significant buff. So he's now the ultimate tank shredder, even harder, shredding them harder than he did before.
The Q buff actually made makes him a little bit more like his alpha self in terms of being a solid counter to, or not counter, a solid reaction to Illidan, where you just drop overkill on him and chase him down.
And that's why we actually get to see a lot more Q talents being locked in. As you said, overkill, the spray and pray, giving him a longer range as well. So very interesting times for Tychus players indeed. And I'm super excited to see how HotsLady wants to make Tychus work. I really can see the value of Odin here so far. Odin, of course, that long range, heavy damage heroic ability that is so good when it comes to just bombarding enemies while they're hiding and clumping up near a temple area.
Very true. Very strong heroic. We do have Dragon Laser Drill picked at times, but Odin very much more popular at the moment because of the armor and, like you said, the big AoE damage. Speaking of armor, ETC locked in for eStar with his new trait rework, and Falstad giving them that extra global.
Absolutely. Just in case you weren't aware, guys, we're playing on the current Cassia patch, with Cassia herself not being eligible, not being able to make it in here because she's still banned, due to that too bland.
She's anything but bland. Unfortunate slip there.
But yeah, she will be available next week if I'm not mistaken. It's actually interesting. Like, are they going to be able to play her in Europe and NA when they start this weekend?
I don't know. I will have to ask someone later. That's a very good question.
Yeah, I would probably
speaking of which, that's definitely worth mentioning for those who don't already know. EU and NA HGC starting again this week. So
good.
Yeah, we're going to get back on the full schedule. You're going to get me and Kendrick on Monday, Tuesday. You're going to get the main HGC over the weekend. And you get the standard open divisions also Monday, Tuesday. Basically, you got like 3 days a week free up until when Korea starts again.
Yeah. I have no idea when Korea is going to start. Are they going to start this week too?
Not sure. I will have to poke a ball.
You could probably ask Gosu Gamers. I think they have a pretty neat schedule. And I think Korea actually starts too. I might have seen a couple Korean names on there.
Everything. Yeah. Everything is ready.
So
that
good.
is going to be awesome.
Yeah, Gosu Gamers tells me that they're going to play this week too.
Sick. So everything's happening this week. Good lord. So ban-wise, we saw Nazeebo and Ragnaros, only done the other way around. Zeratul and Rhaegar coming in for HotsLady. I don't think they needed a big support, but this is still fine. It allows them to be very versatile with what their tank is.
What do you make of this Nazeebo ban? Now, I don't think Nazeebo particularly excels on Sky Temple. It's not really one of those super late game maps due to the way the map objective works, because the lasers oftentimes make sure that the game ends at 20 or even before if one team is snowballing and gets ahead. Is that really just a gap or placeholder? What do you think about that?
I think the Zebo is just fine to pick wherever. Like, honestly, he is a very strong hero. There's a couple of maps, obviously, where you're going to get that stacked stuff, but you don't need to pick Vile Infection at level 20. Yeah, it's super tempting, but everyone sort of forgets about Humongoid.
Yeah.
Which is just super strong in general. You don't have to pick the Vile Infection. You can pick the Zebo and just make him work anyway, and you still get a huge amount of value.
Yeah, you mentioned a very interesting point about Humongoid there. A really solid alternative, especially when you're aware that you're not going to make it to the 150 stacks anytime soon if the early game, mid game didn't really go well for you, or if the map just didn't allow it to really soak up all those minions. So now we see a Vala first pick. That is probably one of the rarest things I've ever seen. Vala is just such a core component of the Chinese meta, of the global meta, if you will, in general at the moment. So Muradin being locked in here as well. Once again, no Arthas, no Nubarak. It seems that China sticks to their guns when it comes to the warriors. ETC, Dehaka, and Muradin. I think that is the holy trinity of warriors that we're used to seeing here.
So we're once again at my level of Tetra meta, where I'm thinking, please Lucio, just take the speed boost talent level 1, the amp it up one.
Yep.
Get those
maximum
kills.
tempo.
Speed boost in Malfurion into a Twilight Dream. That's my level of just wombo combo meta, which is it's an interesting combination they have. Their healing numbers, they have the two probably highest numbered healing heroes in the game, which is crazy. That is going to be a lot of healing. Going to be interesting to see how they're going to work this. Like, could we potentially be seeing a reverse amp? How do they intend to work this?
I can't remember ever seeing those two together in one team comp. It's usually just one or the other. And eStar seems to have the battle plan to unite those two top healers, those two top supports right now, and just make them work together. But as you said, the movement speed with Malfurion can be really deadly, especially when you're chasing someone down, and Malfu is normally considered to be a very slow, a very immobile hero, to just give him that movement speed boost and catch someone with the entangling roots. I think there's a lot of ways you can utilize this duo support.
To bring it up though, Malfurion does have a damage build, if you can call it that. His Moonfire build can actually get a reasonable amount of damage later on. Basically, it's a build where every time you use Moonfire, the damage increases up to a cap. Difference being, you don't actually have to hit anyone with it. You just have to spam it before a team fight where when you're trying to zone the opponents and then start sieging them from afar.
I think that was the build that Bakery liked to run as well, and that got kind of popular because he promoted the build on various platforms. So, yeah, which build is it going to be for Malfurion? We are about to see here. Is it going to be a more offensive route with the Moonfire, or is it going to be a standard route with Ice Block and something like, you know, the bigger roots at 16? We're going to see.
Indeed. So many options for them. I'm just trying to work out, does anyone have any kind of executioner on the side of eStar? I don't think they do, so maybe reverse amp is not going to be the option there, although it would be cool. I guess you could take it for damage. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, this is eStar, and we have playing for them Valor, ETC, Malfurion, Falstad, and Lucio.
And their opponents in this very first game of Day 2 of Week 2, HotsLady, they have Rhaegar, Zeratul, Dehaka, then we have Tychus, and last but not least, Muradin.
So, how am I going to get some of the level 1 talents? Perfect Storm for Muradin, getting that extra snipe damage.
Nice.
They need a lot of damage to get through all of this supporting. And we also have Scouting Drone for Malfurion and the Wall Ride Speed for Lucio.
Yeah, Accelerando really becoming this new all-star talent. You see it on a huge variety of maps. You see it in almost any game so far because it allows the Lucio player to go for those fancy maneuvers like catching up to fleeing enemies and executing them, making Lucio a player killer almost over the last few days. We constantly saw it in Europe as well during the King of the Storm Cup when Smexy just got 3 or 4 executions under his belt. It's a really, really nice offensive and defensive talent at the same time, which makes it so popular in China as well. Then, as you see, we also see a mage build Falstad going for the bigger hammerangs rather than Season Marksman.
Yeah, Gaverick Storm going to try and get up his damage output. Both the hammer talents on both the dwarves.
Yeah.
We'll have to keep an eye on those. Good dodge by Xingzi, and this is why we love him so much. Able to get super out of the way. Zeratul trying to harass Felstad. Felstad doesn't care, takes some damage. But first blood is dropped. Tychus punished in the bot lane by eStar.
Yeah, indeed. Unfortunately, the camera didn't catch it, but this is already a pretty strong statement here. Taking down Tychus and securing themselves half a level lead here. eStar, they are not messing around. They are not taking things slowly here. They're ready to demonstrate once again why they are considered to be China's #1. Now, both teams are fighting. ETC getting licked a little bit here, but makes it out alive with a power slide just in the nick of time.
Yeah, able to pull back nice and easy here. Lucio healing him up quite with the help of Malfurion. ETC already basically back to full, which is lovely. Bit of damage onto Muradin, but he's able to dwarf toss away. There was no knockback available for ETC to try and get him. Tychus stunned up, knocked back, and it looks like he may go down. You're a bit ahead of me.
Yeah.
He is able to survive, and Lucio is killed off.
Yeah, unfortunately, I seem to be a little bit ahead of Tetris, so apologize, guys, if we're not always on sync. We both have to watch the same clean feed, and, of course, we're not living in the same house, so that means that internet connections are sometimes behind or ahead, but I think this should not really harm your enjoyment of the games at all. Now, you brought up something very nice here. Oh, I think that was a mistake by Tiger. I don't think he wanted to get slammed back by that Guardian, and Oz says just,
you fool. Nope.
thank you.
Down he goes, picked off. He's not able to get out at all. So now, little bit of a mistake there so far.
Yeah,
that is a good
huge
boosted
mistake.
XP for HotsLady to try and get themselves back into this game. They're still very far behind in XP, but they've evened up the kill counts.
Yeah, absolutely. That was quite the individual mistake here by Falstad, by Tiger. If he hadn't gotten knocked back by that Guardian, I think he would have been just fine. But Zeratul, Oz here taking that kill with pleasure. Now, with that double support comp, with that Malfurion and the Lucio, it's very, very hard for HotsLady to just poke. They need to hard engage every single time because every ounce of poke that they are going to commit is going to get healed by those Lucio and Malf players. So, very, very good point. It's almost like, you know, sieging up against a team that has Mule. You always want to make sure to destroy those buildings, otherwise it's just going to get back healed up. But Zeratul falling here as well. First kill, or not really the first kill, but another kill for eStar, man. They're not to be messed with today.
Yeah, picking up another one, doing a good job here. Really utilizing that extra movement speed of Lucio. Tiger again punished Dahaka with that global potential and that great solo laning ability.
This is just very unusual. We are not used to seeing Tiger struggling this much on a relatively safe hero like Falstad. It's not like Falstad doesn't have any means of disengage or any means of escape mechanisms. He has his barrel roll, and you just need to use it against a very slow hero like Dahaka. I don't think you're supposed to die in a straight-up 1-on-1 this early on, and the second slip-up here by eStar.
Yeah, they're starting to struggle now. The kill count once again evened up, and yet eStar still with just under a level lead here. EDZ with a two-man stun does get the knockback, double the damage thanks to that level 7 talent. Nicely done there.
Yeah. Nicely done indeed, and you can see that the lead in XP that eStar currently has is just growing and growing, and it looks like HotsLady, they are aware of Tiger being the weak link so far in the eStar roster. They're constantly sending Zeratul up to get another potential gank or another potential successful gank in there, but this time Tiger was aware his spider senses were tingling.
Yeah, he was able to this time play it a little bit safer. Lucio already moving onto the shrine down in this bottom lane. They're going to try and protect him as best they can. Both teams leaving their global hero up in the top lane to soak that out and try it and get their team a little bit of an advantage.
Yep, now we see the second temple phase being dominated by eStar. HotsLady not trying to contest, which is good, because they need to do some more soaking in middle and top in the meantime. They could have even gone for a mercenary camp as well, and maybe then focus down the top lane, which is normally something you want to do if you have no chance of ever, you know, contesting the bottom temple. You want to basically just build up pressure elsewhere. But eStar also rotating very nicely. They're considering a boss here. H on the ETC starting it off. Xingzi joining him right now. It looks like HotsLady is not aware of this because they're busy elsewhere. They want to kill Tiger once again. They can't do so this time, though. Zeratul paying with his life.
Successful gank. Not Zeratul
not this time.
the 1v1 there.
Yeah.
position. We have 2 potential knockbacks here from eStar to try and prevent any kind of steal potential. You can see no one else is rotating down though. There was never any intention for Meridian to attempt to steal this. His goal was to try and pretend there was more people there so that they could try and zone away from it. And look at H here, delaying the capture of this boss to grab other mercenary camps here and allow his team to rotate back to lanes. Very nice here.
Yeah, this is really, really smart. They knew perfectly well that they had enough disengage to prevent someone like Meridian from capturing it. Zeratul had just died, so there was no threat of a VP either. So they really waited for the boss to be activated for maximum value with those mercenaries. I really, really like that decision. Now, H is a little bit in trouble. He's getting initiated on by HotsLady.
A lot of damage coming down here onto Muradin, who is able to pop Avatar. The break it down was also dropped by Lucio. Gust only really catching Muradin, allowing them to zone out Dahaka and focus him down. Dahaka gets, there's the mosh pit! And that's going to be devastation. eStar going to be able to push in 5 versus 0 with that boss still alive and with the Siege Giants only just arriving.
My goodness, eStar is saying thank you very much, HotsLady, for looking for a straight-up 5 versus 5 fight with the boss on our side. And you can't normally go for that. You have to play a little bit more disciplined, a little bit more patient if you're HotsLady, because that boss alone provides so much additional zoning power with those hurricanes and with those AoE stuns. I think they should have even let this bottom keep fall if they hadn't had any chance to really defend and then potentially look for a better engagement near the core. I think fighting outside of their base when 13 was so far, or so close, excuse me, for eStar as well, was quite the risky choice, and they paid for it in blood.
3-man reign of vengeance there by Valor, just guaranteeing the escape of eStar there. Falstad left this ages ago to move up to top lane, soak XP for his team, and get them further ahead. When you are ahead, get more ahead, as the world-famous Artosis used to say. He is in position to begin soaking this temple, but he's not going in anytime soon because the enemy team are missing from the mini-map. He does not want to get himself picked off again.
Now there's only 2 keeps left for HotsLady, and they're getting shot at by the lasers from the temples right now. Oz right now, the Zeratul once again engaging on Tiger. He's in trouble. Gets cleansed. Is he going to make it out alive? Yes, he is. Nice barrel roll over the wall.
Yeah, nicely done indeed. And the Gust for good measure, protecting his support as well. Beautifully played there. And with that temple still with most of its shots available, this is perfect for eStar because now the rest of the team is beginning to rotate up. Only person who isn't so far is Lucio, who can come and join his team very quickly.
Now we see a 3-man mosh pit go down. The Odin popped right after, and Malfurion is in trouble. The Ice Block gets popped in the nick of time, but is he going to make it out alive? I don't think so. Oz says no, shuts him down on that Zeratul. Now H in trouble, gets a 3-4, 5-man mosh pit almost if Dahaka steps inside, and here comes the sound barrier as well. A last-second save from Lucio, but also a last-second save on that Dahaka. A beautiful Ancestor Healing is going down. It is still a 4 versus 4. Now Tiger with a last effort on that W and Q makes sure to take down Tychus as well, and they're left without damage. Lucio, look at X.
Lucio doesn't care, dodges the drag, gets the kill, looks for even more damage there, finally gets stunned up, but guess what? Friends are here, damage onto Muradin, chasing him down, he leaps over the wall, but isn't in position to zone him out.
Baited!
Looking to kill the Rhaegar. What was that, dude? He gets taken out. Man. Carlo is able to escape.
That was so well played here by Rhaegar. He constantly waited until he used his chain up. But once again, we see that beautiful team fight here. Age with a massive mosh pit being supported by X with a beautiful sound barrier. A great disengage also from Tiger by Falsa. Look at him. He stays safe for the most time, and only when it's safe to do so is he going to re-engage. He patiently waited for H's power slide. That was so well coordinated because the power slide basically prevented Falstad from getting attacked again. So nicely done.
Yeah, Zig's positioning there was perfect. He moved into this camp area and was just attacking from over the wall. He was able to get a multi-shot without hitting any of the mercenaries, which would have just murdered him. Just absolutely great positioning there, able to give his team maximum value.
And that's exactly how you swing those team fights around. I mean, those mosh pits, those power slides are always on point. H, for me personally, that MVP of that previous team fight here is so well played, and it really shows the power of mosh pit. And it is another reason why more and more teams in China completely abandon the stage dive, even on maps like Sky Temple, where it's potentially really, really good, and they just go for those strong team fight synergies, which China is known for, and that's by far their greatest strength as a region.
Yeah, there are even 3 ranged interrupts. 4 if you count VP, which it doesn't really interrupt unless you're only able to hit ETC to allow everyone else to walk out. But ETC is just like, well, I'll just mosh the people who can interrupt then and just leave the others. And it works. It's working out for him in a lot of these situations. He already has mosh available again, and now is a good time with Valkyrian getting harassed. But we're seeing a lot of retreating coming in from HotsLady. Don't want to get themselves caught out at all. Whereas eStar just controlling this middle area.
They're controlling it indeed, and once you have 1 or 2 keeps down on Sky Temple, it's just such a pain in the butt to deal with it, because you're constantly going to be forced back to defend during the temple phases. Like now, for example, even if HotsLady skirmished a little bit too long, they are soon going to be forced to go back, because those catapults in middle and bottom, if eStar gets middle after all, are just such a big thing to deal with. Now, they basically have to hard engage despite being a town down. I don't think they can go for another dragged out fight, because if they lose that one, they're going to lose anyway, so they might as well just go ham or go home.
Lucio finished fully stacking his knockback at level 4, so he's going to be able to get a wider arc on that, and knockback heroes a little more efficiently. You just saw it there. Little bit of harassment onto Lucio there by Zeratul. This keep very slowly dying, while Falstad kills off the top keep via grabbing that top temple.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, HotsLady can now choose to die relatively quick, but without really enduring so much pain, or they can drag it out and die a horribly slow and painful death. I really think they should make a move, but they're still waiting for that 16 to maybe have a better chance at fighting. Oz, for that very reason, is soaking top. Now, eStar is playing that so smartly too. They have 4 people constantly sieging up, with their global mobility hero, Falstad, being the one who's taking the temple, and now they seem to make their move, Tetcher. Now it is HotsLady's time to make a stand.
They're trying to grab something, but the knockbacks from ETC and Lucio just completely zoning away to Haken before he can get any kind of drag. He's wading forwards. Adaptation is dropped, but look at the speed. You want speed boost? X go give it to you. And they turn it around and begin to try and get a good re-engage here. H positioning himself very patiently against the 3-man mosh via walking. But there was no follow-up. The VP from Zeratul saving his team there, and in fact we see a gust from Falstad to disengage from that.
Yeah, that was a really well-timed Void Prison here to basically slow down the follow-up advance from eStar. And so far it's looking pretty good, but look at that support combo. A 4-man Twilight Dream followed up by a beautiful sound barrier. And X, he is the man who's providing all that movement speed to his ally, and nobody except for 365 is going to survive here. Beautiful display by eStar. They are once again underlining why they are considered to be China's #1 1-0 for our big favorite.
Yeah, they take the first map, and that's going to look good for them. The point to remember here, though, is even if they win 3-0 here, they're still technically not top of the table, as they will be 5-1 compared to the 6-0 that we have from Team CE at the top. Those 2 teams will play each other in a week or 2 weeks, I believe. But for now, HotsLady on the back foot. They need to pull something very scarily, very, very impressive out here to try and make a comeback.
Yeah, and I think after watching this first game, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the side of HotsLady's assassin players or flex players, because it just didn't seem like they had enough manpower to punch through that double support line from eStar with that Lucio and Malf. A double support comp that I personally have never seen, but that looked so strong. The beautiful combo and the beautiful damage potential from that Twilight Dream, protected by a sound barrier, because you're basically going to have to interrupt 2 targets at the same time, Tetra, right? You have to either interrupt Malf, so he doesn't get the Twilight off, or you have to interrupt Lucio so he doesn't get the sound barrier off. Which one do you choose? Very, very, very hard to make decisions sometimes.
Yeah, and even when you've made those decisions, oh no, we forgot about ETC! Here comes the mosh.
Yeah.
And ETC, the patience on most of those mosh pits was so good. He would power slide in and then wait a couple seconds to like bait out any CC and then mosh. Just the absolute mind games there. Look at him. 0-0-15. The ultimate tank stat there coming in from
Beautiful.
H.
Man, H, he's been putting on a clinic. You see him here now, and he's looking happy for good reason, because that was probably one of the most impressive ETC performances we've had all season long here in China. Now, not just his offensive engagements were just spot on, but also his defensive peeling for allies in need, like Tiger, for example, on that false step when he saved him with that power slide and allowed him to re-engage. That was just so well executed. But Tiger, I think, needs to step up his game a little bit more. He was the only player from eStar who struggled a little bit, and if HotsLady focuses more on those weaknesses, I think they may have what it takes to maybe, you know, close in a little bit better in the early game.
Yeah, being left in the solo lane, Tiger was punished a few times. In team fights, he seemed pretty fine, pretty reasonable, really solid Gus overall. Yeah. But in the early game, he was punished quite a bit. He was the source of basically all of the kills from HotsLady, other than that one Lucio running into a keep. But yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on him, see which heroes he plays in the next game.
Indeed. Is it going to be a false set again? I think it greatly depends on the map. False set is usually a hero that you don't see that often on smaller maps like Battlefield of Eternity, should it get picked. If it's another large one, let's say, you know, Curse Hollow or Junction, I think he's definitely one of the priorities here as well.